Hear me out, all right? I've come to this theory, some might call it a conclusion, that Sam Bankman-Fried is actually a fucking leprechaun, and he is trying to lead the people, the public, and everyone to the pot of gold, but it's just nowhere to be found. It is a never-ending search for something that is no longer there. It's no longer in existence. Where'd the money go? Nobody knows. This whole FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried situation with his parents, and then the whole having the orgies in the Bahamas. Who knows if there's politicians flying in and having orgies there? I know a lot of people speculate that he might get Epstein if he ends up in jail and prison, and he's going to end up there for life. I don't think so, because I don't think he was having like underage people in his orgies. I think it was just commingling amongst other business partners and friends in the Bahamas, from my understanding, and he was obsessed with League of Legends, but he was getting bronze there. It's just embarrassing to say the least. So I don't think he was having politicians and huge executives. I don't know if there's any underage people where, you know, it would jeopardize these politicians and huge business executives to where he would get Epstein. So I don't think that's the case. But let's just read the article. So he was reunited with his parents and lawyers inside the courthouse, and apparently silent Bankman-Fried shook hands of a supporter before heading out the door, where photographers and video crews rushed him until he left in a car. The judge agreed to the bond and house arrest, though he required an electronic monitoring bracelet to be affixed to himself before he left the courthouse. Ruse had recommended it to be attached Friday in California. Continuing, Bankman-Fried was shackled at his ankles when he entered the courthouse in a suit and tie to take a seat between his attorneys. He did not speak during the hearing except to answer the judge. Near its end, he was asked by Gorenstein, the judge, whether he understood he would face arrest and owe $250 million if he chose to flee. He said, "Yes, I do." Which, that's just a load of crock. I get the vibe that this might be the last time. I wouldn't be surprised if it's the last time you even see this guy in a courtroom, because it's just a perfect scenario that has led up to this point. He seemed very confident. His parents have seemed very confident throughout this whole process, which of course they would. They've had a literal month of doing Twitter spaces and interviews and beating around the bush, but insinuating that they actually did commit fraud by investing customer funds without customers actually knowing and being okay with it in these other businesses. And I'm sure these other businesses, his parents or family members down the family tree, third or fourth cousins, have access to in the hundreds of millions of dollars or even billions at this point. So why would you not be confident throughout this process when you know you could probably pay any amount of bail and you know you are set? You just want to get extradited to the States to do the first hearing because his dad's a lawyer. He knows how this process works. I know this is kind of like conspiracy theory, but it's not a far reach, is it? Is it really that far of a reach to think like that? I know the crypto community is really thinking like that. So you can't help but let your mind wander that way when this story is already super bizarre to begin with. Okay? So he said, "Yes, I do," to the judge, who said you would face arrest and you owe $250 million. If you flee, you'll get arrested. Soon afterward, the hearing ended, and Bankman-Fried, his hands in his pant pockets, was let out by 2 U.S. Marshals. The next court date is scheduled for January 3rd, where he is to appear before the judge, who will proceed over the court case. His bail conditions also require that he may not open any new lines of credit, start a business, or enter financial transactions larger than $1,000 without the approval of a government or the court. I'm just saying, I am sure, with the confidence it seems like they're portraying through their physiology and just the way they're acting and engaging in it, I could be completely wrong. This is complete speculation, but the way like I've gotten it from like the video and the clips, and the fact that Sam Bankman-Fried was doing Twitter space interviews with a bunch of people asking him what happened to the money, and he was beating around the bush, but then would like admit to like a little bit what happened to the money, and he was doing interviews with like YouTubers. It just shows his cockiness and ignorance to the whole situation. Just based on that posturing throughout the situation, can't help but assume that this motherfucker is probably a fleer. Probably a situation where an ankle bracelet and handing his passport over to the courts, it's irrelevant because he's already got a month of planning that he's done with his parents and other business partners and friends to kind of narrate the way this is going to play out, because there's no way his parents would want him in prison for life, let alone himself would want to be in prison for life, because that is the weight and severity of the situation. So it just seems like there's something up. Just saying. Something a little fishy here, something stinky. Continuing on, the bond was to be secured by the equity in his parents' home, and that was in another article that it was about $4 million was the price of his parents' home, roughly, and the signature of them and 2 other financially responsible people with considerable assets, Roos said. The bail was described as a personal recognizance bond, meaning the collateral did not need to meet the bail amount. Typically, it's about 10%. So like I was saying before, reiterating, it's about 10% of what the whole amount is. So it's $25 million. So his parents' home literally did not cover the total bail bond amount. It says a lot about those 2 people and their vested interests. It's probably conflicting. It's just something to look at. I know so many people online think he's going to get Epstein. I don't see that being the case. It seems like throughout this whole process and journey, he's just way too confident. It seems like it's all being set up to the point like this is honestly the perfect opportunity. He's at home for Christmas. He gets to discuss the situation more in depth with his dad and his mom and whoever else they're associated with that probably nobody really knows about. Well, you know, Brando, the FBI and CIA can tap the phones. Yeah, I'm talking way before they even got arrested. Way before that. And who's to say that the FBI or the CIA doesn't have vested interest in this guy, right? Wants to protect him. Who knows? Who knows? He had deep pockets in so many different politicians and places and businesses. It's the perfect scenario to not show up to that court date on January 3rd and just vanish off the face of the earth. Literally change your identity, move to another country. It wouldn't be the first time this has happened to somebody. There was actually a woman who made a crypto coin and she vanished and she hasn't even come out yet. It was called like OneCoin. She's vanished off the face of the earth. She's supposed to be arrested, but she has not been found yet. She's been missing ever since 2017. I highly doubt anyone's ever going to find her. Since 2017, she's long gone. Probably got so much plastic surgery, doesn't even look like this anymore. Yeah, wouldn't be the first time. I wouldn't be surprised if Sam Bankman-Fried ends up leaving.